The latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Yeah! Crank it, baby. Okay. Dude, I'm tossing stuff around. You know, you should not put a camera in front of me. Chris Crock, in for Dan. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560, The Answer. 312-642-5600 is our number. 312-642-5600. Hey, did you see the video of the church shooting in Michigan? It's a familiar scene where it flashed back to me when my kids are now 18 and 22, but when they were, I don't know, 8 and 12 or whatever, something like that. We had Vacation Bible School, and I was asked to do some stuff. And we're doing whatever we're doing. The kids are in there, and everybody's having fun and doing stuff. And you're herding cats, right? And then all of a sudden, shots fired. And what hurts me the most on this, it's not us adults, it's not our wives and us. It's these precious little children who are being taught about Jesus, and they're being poured into, and they're annoying, they're funny, they're cute, they're learning, they're just soaking it all up like a sponge. And then shots are fired. Are you ready? Is your church ready if something like that should happen? Are you prepared? What will happen? I'm really, really grateful that we have somebody on who's really, really knowledgeable in all this. Rob Chadwick. No pressure, Rob. Retired super. Rob, you there, brother?
Chris, I appreciate you having me on.
No
Thanks
pressure,
so much.
by the way. No pressure. I really elevated you there, sir. Retired.
I appreciate that.
Retired supervisory special agent, former head of the FBI's tactical training program at Quantico. That's a big deal. Now serving as the head of personal and public safety at the USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association. Thanks for coming on with us this morning on the Chicago's Morning Answer.
Chris, thanks so much for the opportunity, and I was glad to hear you bringing up this story, which is such an incredible story of triumph, good over evil, because so many times we hear about these shootings, whether they're at the church or a school or place of business, and someone slips in and is able to do evil before anyone can intercede. And thank goodness last weekend in Wayne, Michigan, we had individuals who had prepared themselves, and we're talking about an entirely different story today, or at least some of us are, and I appreciate you willing to do that, because what you saw, and Chris, I was able to travel to Wayne last week and be with those people to get the story directly from them. They had stood, literally in the face of evil, and these were extraordinarily ordinary people. That's what struck me the most about them is they're just your neighbors, your friends, your uncle, your aunt. They're just, everyday people who did something absolutely extraordinary. The men who responded so decisively, so quickly, so bravely. One of them had his grandchild on his lap moments before this shooting occurred.
So you go from a nurturing, loving, doting grandfather to a man who's about to possibly take down somebody who is a wolf, threatening to come and kill them. And I want to take us through how this went down, because to me it's that 1 second of hang time where something happens. Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, you're exactly right. It's seconds, and that's the most important thing for your listeners to understand. Is yes, the police were there very quickly. They were there within minutes, but
not enough.
I'm telling you, not enough. Right, and so thank goodness these people had taken the time to prepare themselves.
Let me take you down on this. I want to kind of go through this. So you're standing there. There's a man, one or two security guards, I think, from the story. If I'm off, you'll correct me. There's a parishioner or a church member who is pulling up or is in the parking lot, and all of a sudden a threat spots. You spot a threat. There's a man with a tactical gear, and you'll correct me again, with a rifle or guns, and a parishioner. So that's the 1 second hang time I wanted to, because this is it right here. You see something, you're in shock for a split second. That's that hang time. You're like, what the heck is this? And then what do you do? Because somebody's going to die in a second. He's ready to shoot. You're not. Go ahead.
So thank goodness we had, again, you don't know if it's divine intervention or what it is, but we had a incredibly quick thinking, brave, selfless deacon of the church who, of course, is rarely running late for church, but this particular morning had stayed home to cook himself breakfast. He'd, save a little money instead of stopping on the way. And so he's a few minutes late to church. Church service was already in full swing. The kids are in there literally doing their, songs from Bible school the previous week. Dozens of kids in there on stage performing. And as this deacon is parking his truck, he notices another person come speeding into the parking lot, acting very erratically. The man gets out of his vehicle and begins, as you said, donning this tactical gear, puts on a vest, brings out a rifle. And the deacon is unarmed. He's not a member of the safety team there, but there was no one else around. And so it was just him. And he challenged the guy, says, "Hey, buddy, is everything okay?" Now, this person, this would-be shooter, was known to the church. He had been to some services, but the would-be shooter turned and looked at him, stared at him for a minute, a second or two, and continued putting on his gear, and then began walking towards the front of the church with this assault rifle. Right. And so luckily, this man had the conviction to do the only thing he had an opportunity to do, and that is get in his truck and try to stop this man from getting to the front door and hit him with his truck.
That truck is a weapon.
No doubt about it.
And that is a way to stop the threat, right?
Yes. Well, he hit him and knocked him off balance. Did not incapacitate him, though, because the shooter fell directly in front of the narthex, which is the entrance to the church, literally feet from the sanctuary. And immediately the shooter began firing, rapid fire from his rifle, disabled the truck. Matter of fact, the truck caught fire. It took so many rounds. The deacon wasn't able to do anything else, jumps out of his truck. Well, luckily that gunfire alerted the security team that was on, and these are just parishioners. These men were not former law enforcement, no former military. The guy that I talked to, Jay, was just such an incredibly humble person. And he said, "Look, I'm standing there with my church family, and hear what I thought initially was what he called a pipe hammer," right? He's on the maintenance committee too, and then realized very quickly, no, those are gunshots, and went running to the sound of gunfire, as did another member. Both of them went running to the sound of gunfire. The second member I talked about had just had his grandchild on his lap literally moments before, put his grandchild down and went running towards the sound of gunfire at the back of the church where the entrance was. And
so there it is, right there, trying to come and murder everybody.
That's right. He's literally feet from being in that sanctuary with all those people.
And those children are running.
That's right. They're running. Luckily, some other parishioners on that tape, very calmly but decisively, let's move to the back of the church. They had practiced this. They were ready. And that's what I want people to be, cognizant of is, listen, obviously church, mosque, synagogue, a house of worship is a place of welcome. And we want to be as welcoming as we can, but we can't be naive. In the last 20 years, there have been nearly 4,000 violent incidents reported at houses of worship, and these attacks are on the rise. We've seen this, and thank goodness these people had prepared themselves. The team that responded, believe it or not, had just been on Thursday night prior to the attack to a USCCA training class focused on protecting your church.
And I want everybody to know, this is Rob Chadwick, former retired special supervisory agent and former head of the FBI's tactical training program at Quantico, now the head of the personal and public safety at the USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association. Can I switch on you real fast if I didn't cut you off?
Of course.
I want to switch to where you were in the parking lot 10 years ago, you write, at none of us will ever forget this. This is the most beautiful and horrific thing at the same time. It makes me emotional. Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, South Carolina. You have you have 9 African-American people who love God, who are in a Bible study in historically black church, and a white man who, and you have more of a description than I do, but a white man who comes in there and looks either disheveled or psychologically disturbed, comes in, and they, I don't know if he said, "Can I pray with you?" or "Can I come in here?" or whatever. And they you know what they did? They didn't say, "What's wrong with you?" Throw them out and go, "Oh my gosh, no," or something. They said yes. They said yes, and then they were murdered for it. It was evil, and they did the right thing because they didn't know what was going to happen, and they died like that. Tell me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so for your listeners out there, that we're talking about the 10-year anniversary of the church attack at Mother Emanuel was just last week, and that was certainly heavy on my heart because I responded that night. I was a member of the FBI SWAT team in South Carolina, was on scene 90 minutes after the attack, and you're right. Those parishioners were exactly where they were supposed to be, doing exactly what they were supposed to do. They welcomed this monster into their midst. And that's honestly, Chris, that's why I'm still doing what I'm doing is what I saw in that crime scene that night broke my heart because it was so apparent that people like you and me, everyone out there listening, unless you have come up with a plan, accepted that evil does exist, it can happen, and it can happen to you. That's the thing we hear so many times, isn't it? Is that I never thought it would happen here. I never thought it would happen to me. And that's the same refrain we hear from all of these, people who have survived these attacks. But, so the reason I'm here, the reason I still do what I do is to get that message out. Let's pause right now today as, while you're on your drive or when you get home or when you get to work, take a cup of coffee and sit with your friends and talk about, let's come up with a quick plan. What are we going to do if something like this happens here at work or at our house of worship or at the house? An emergency plan to fall back on. And that's what we do here at the USCCA is help train people to prepare for stuff like that, get them in the right mindset, and then obviously prepare them with whatever other types of training equipment that they might need to protect themselves and their loved ones.
Let me also ask you this. So here's I'm woefully inadequate, but I carry as much as I can. I try to do it like a lot, like 90% of the time, 95% of the time. And the one thing I've learned, and I only go to the range a couple times a year, I'm not going to lie, etc. But I was taught by some of my law enforcement folk that head on a swivel, meaning when you're coming in and going to your workplace, your house, grocery store, no phone. You are looking around as you're getting into the car, when you're about to get in the car or whatever, you just do a quick, look around. It's just a habit. And that way, because you and I see the videos all the time, the thug has the jump on you because you're staring down at your hand or your keys or your groceries. And so they're like, if you would have seen them and turned and saw them 15 feet over your shoulder coming at you, they may have stopped, or you may have jumped into your car, or you may have ran. But since you didn't see them, they rolled up on you. Even if you have a gun, you might not be prepared. If you see it, you could do something. Head on a swivel and be aware. That's kind of is the only thing I can think of about what I try to do. And then when you're sitting at a restaurant or whatever, make a habit of having your back, you're facing the entrance. So if somebody comes in, if you're armed, what's a good way of doing it so that you can do what needs to be done?
You're spot on, Chris. Sounds like you had some good training because, Can
you say that again? I'm what?
You were spot on.
Aha!
Yeah.
Go ahead.
The most important element in any critical situation is time. We saw that in Charleston. We saw that in Wayne, and we'll see that every single time. The more time you can steal back to be, to spot that danger coming and to avoid it. The USCCA, our philosophy is the best fight you'll ever be in is one you can avoid. Right. And so all of us just want to go on with our lives. We train people to use firearms in the most extreme circumstance, and carrying a gun, you do so because it's the one tool that really can level the playing field between the weak and the strong, or someone who knows what they're doing. But it is to get you out of danger. I tell people all the time, that gun is not there to get you into danger. It's to get you and your loved ones out of danger. Let
me say something, because my understanding is if there's a school shooting or there's a work shooting, you really don't want to be Sheriff Bob. You don't want to go after them. You don't want to, what you want to do is get out. If you can't get out, that's when you have to stop the threat if it comes towards you, or if you have a chance to stop it if you're in a situation where you can't get out. Is that right? Get out if you can't get out.
That's absolutely right.
You're not
Best
Sheriff
way
Bob.
to survive. That's right.
Well, and
The thing to think about too is, and I commend people who have that heroic spirit. However, think about from the police response standpoint, they don't know who the shooter is. They don't have much information. The information they have is at best third hand because it's coming over a dispatch, over a call taker. And so as the officers arrive, if they see you who have interceded in a situation, you're in plain clothes, you have no markings, you have no idea who you are, and you're holding a gun, and it maybe has just shot somebody. Yeah. It could be just a disaster. So, it's an extremely fluid situation. I tell people all the time, the main thing is to get you and your loved ones away from the danger, create as much time and distance, and let the authorities, respond. Now, of course, these people in Michigan, the brave men and women of the safety team, that was their job. And thank goodness they were prepared to do it and saved, there's no question in my mind, saved dozens of lives and saved us from talking about another national tragedy here on the anniversary of what happened in Charleston.
Man, Rob, I really, really appreciate you. Rob Chadwick, thank you for giving us your time this morning. Thank you for your service as an FBI tactical training program head there at Quantico and former supervisory special agent with the FBI, and now with the head of the Personnel and Public Safety at the USCCA, United States Concealed Carry Association. Thank you for all of what you do for us and your service prior to that.
Thanks so much, and have a safe and happy holiday weekend.
You too, my friend. Okay, coming up, that was really good. That guy's awesome. Thank God for people like him, All right, Chris Kroc on Chicago's Morning Answer. I got so much to get into. We, at 7 o'clock, we're going to be talking about the big, beautiful bill, because what is in it, what passed it, it's just like, what happened, what's going on? There's a lot of interesting stuff. We'll get into all the stuff, what affects, what cuts, what's been cut, what's not. That's at 7 o'clock. But then also, I want to hit on some short stuff here. Maybe I'll squeeze this in. The Aurora mayor. My folks were in Naperville before going back into the city years ago. So I was in Naperville a lot. I'd come to town and visit with my folks. So nearby Aurora, of course, the mayor is under trouble. They say under fire. Channel 7 says under fire over fireworks stuff. I'll tell you about that. It's quite entertaining and amusing. That's next. It's Chris Kroc in for on Chicago's Morning Answer, AM 560, The Answer.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
It's Dr. David Goldbaba.
Hey guys, it's not enough to manipulate your testosterone by getting those shots. Did you ever stop to ask, why is my testosterone level so low anyway? Well, if you're a Y guy like me, I've got something for you to think about. Hormone levels get skewed not with age. Hormones get skewed by poor lifestyle habits. Our male hormone test can help us find the why behind your male hormone challenges. So give us a call and get your male hormone test today. Pumping hormones into your bloodstream is not the answer, not without the many health